Hey guys and gals, and welcome to the pilot episode of the High Level Podcast. I am your co-host, TL21xx. Here with me is
LordofIce72 on YouTube.
And we are coming to you live from the interwebs. And just in advance, we've been having some weird audio glitches on our end, so I apologize in advance if there's anything weird about the sound of this episode. This is kind of just what happens when you're trying to make sure that everything sounds really good and you run into echo snags. So,
if you have any complaints, feel free to email TL.
Because that's what I get for being the one that's saying I'm going to record it.
Well, you know, if I could record it, I would, but I don't have the fancy recording hardware that you do.
This is very true. That's one of the perks you get for being in the industry. So, if you guys remember, this channel used to be the MAVcast, and while we enjoyed the MAVcast, we felt that with the new year, it was time for a new look, and with that comes the new name and a new focus on making sure we get more content out there.
Exactly, because these past 6 months, or better yet, the past year, 2015, we would occasionally, churn out an episode whenever our schedules would allow it. And I mean, you've been busy, I've been busy. And we've been really trying to get this new podcast off the ground for the last month and a half or so. For the last
Give
2
or
months.
take.
Christmas happened. A lot of personal issues in my life happened. We had to deal with a death in the family on my end. So yeah, that's never fun.
Never.
So basically, just our schedules have just been off the freaking rails as far as trying to sit down and actually try to get an episode out here. Now, if we were paid, this wouldn't be such a big issue because we'd have sponsors doing that. But since this is just a labor of love, as of right now, take the hint, people, we should be able to actually refocus our site and be able to actually, get more content out there for you guys, the listener, because you're the reasons why we do this.
Yeah.
And just because we need a place to share our opinions and throw them out there to the interweb for all of them to hear.
Most definitely. So speaking of the interweb, actually, with your schedule, I know there was a lot going on with mine. I had some stuff going on, mostly with, the different changes, graduating and whatnot. But the big thing that happened over here is that I've been trying to get stuff pulled together for the YouTube channel that I've had just sitting there dormant for, I think, a year and a half now?
Yeah, possibly. Same thing with mine, but I really have nothing to say as far as the YouTube channel is concerned. I kind of want to, if I had the hardware, I would love to turn that into a video game centric channel. I know that YouTube recently launched their own competitor streaming site, and they're competing with Twitch. So if there was a way that I could do that, that'd be great. But the thing is, a lot of the games I play are on older systems, and there are ways to get a PlayStation 2 to hook up through your computer and whatnot, but it is a gigantic hassle and something that I personally don't want to undertake, at least not now, because I don't have the funds and I don't have the computer. All I have is this Microsoft Surface 2 Pro here in front of me.
Yeah.
And that's my, quote, go-to computer every day. So it's basically lack of funds on my end.
Yeah.
And I know that the PS4, the Xbox, and the Xbox One have the Twitch function built in, the streaming service built in. And I've tested out, it works fine, but basically there aren't a whole lot of games on the new consoles that I want to play.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you on that one. I'm in the same boat.
So that explains why I haven't been doing much, at least not on the YouTube front.
Yeah, mine's mostly been schedule-based, but also just a lack of real content ideas. But that's going to be changing. It's going to get rebranded. I'm going to have a whole team working with me on that. So that'll be a lot of fun.
If you need help, I can try to do something. I mean, granted, there's not a whole lot I can do since we're so far apart, but I'd like to contribute in some way.
Yeah, well, we'll see how that turns out. I know the big thing is that we've got this podcast here, and I think that's our main primary mode of collaboration.
Good.
So.
Good.
All right, so now we gotten some of the initial housekeeping out of the way. Let's go ahead and get into our main topics for today. Just a rundown of what we're going to be talking about today. We've got some gaming news to start, and then after that, we'll go into what we've been playing, anything that we've been watching or reading in the world of anime and manga. We're definitely going to be talking about a certain, not sure if we should call it anime or not. I know it's a bit of controversy in the community.
I do. I consider it an anime.
And I do too, but I'm a little bit biased considering they're my former employers and hopefully soon to be re-employed by them. Rooster Teeth's Ruby. We'll be talking a little bit about that in the third season and some of our thoughts on that. Of course, mostly LordofIce's since I'm trying to stay in good graces. Yes. But also, we'll be talking about the upcoming Royal Rumble and our thoughts on that, as well as some of the recent events in the pro wrestling community. So, without further ado, let's start with the gaming news. What have you got today for us, LordofIce?
Basically, now this isn't relatively new. I mean, Nintendo has been pretty tight-lipped about this whole thing, but I would really like to know more about Project NX because right now they have not done a very good job in communicating what the heck it actually is.
Yeah.
I mean, is it a home console? Is it mobile? Is it like they've said that it's some kind of hybrid in between thing? I'm just really confused on what it is, and I'm excited. I'm waiting with bated breath for it, but at the same time, it's kind of hard to hype me up when I don't know what I'm getting hyped up for.
Yeah.
So that's my big issue. Granted, I'll probably be the first one in line whenever it launches because that's the only way I'm going to get my Nintendo first-party stuff.
No, I'm in the same boat for that too. Yeah, I'm very curious to see what their plans are for NX. I've heard some of the rumors. Supposedly it might be one console that'll have a handheld attachment, which I don't believe that. I think it's more likely it's going to be multiple SKUs because I know they talked about that concept before.
They have, but I just hope that the SKU that they come out with, they better have the deluxe version because that's the one I want.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, and also in the world of VR headsets, I'm just shaking my head at I think Sony's. I forget the name of them. The PlayStation VR.
Morpheus.
I think, yeah, Morpheus. Thank you. There's a rumored price going around that it's going to cost $800. That's twice as much as the console you're playing it on.
Which is crazy.
I really don't get that's insane. I mean, for one thing, who's going to want to put a helmet on just to play games? I mean, I see this whole VR craze as the 3D craze from about 5 years ago. Well, actually, technically now 6 years ago, back in 2010 when everyone was just hopping on the 3D bandwagon. And we as in my family, we bought a 3D television around that time. And we probably used the 3D feature once, and we never wanted to use it again because we don't want to wear those silly-looking glasses to watch Shrek.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is that you're not watching content that was made for 3D, and I think that's the big issue here is that if you're going to be doing VR, you need to design your game around VR. It's the same thing with 3D. I mean, bear in mind, I have a little bit of a vested bias here because I actually did take part in the 3D program here at UT. And the thing about it is that stereo 3D is its own language. And I think a lot of the content that's out there, I think the resistance to checking it out has to do with the fact that you have to throw on the glasses. But even more than that, a lot of the times 3D is just tacked on. The stuff isn't designed with 3D as the main thought. It's just a conversion. So as a result, the medium suffers.
Yeah, very true. And the thing looks heavy. I mean, granted, it's really hard to tell because I don't have the headset in my hands, but the thing looks heavy whenever you place it on your head.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really going to be hard to imagine anyone playing any game for a sustained amount of time. I mean, these Turtle Beach headphones that I'm wearing, I mean, after about an hour's worth of wearing them, my head starts to get heavy and it feels uncomfortable. So imagine that times 3, because I imagine it's going to weigh a lot more than your standard issue Turtle Beach headsets.
Yeah, well, I've had some experience with some VR headsets, and I can't tell you that they're not crazy heavy because they have a special harness that distributes the weight pretty well. But I can say that, yeah, I feel that after about 45 minutes, it would have to come off.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't know how they're going to make this a good gaming experience. Now, if this was just for watching TV, I could kind of see that because just take for example that if you're watching a football game, I know it's the playoffs and the national championship game just ended last night. So I could imagine them if they wanted to develop some kind of headset to like put you down on the sidelines, or God forbid they actually have like micro cameras inside the helmet of the players that you can actually tune in to what
Yeah.
they're seeing in first person shooter or not first person shooters, but actually see them in first person.
First person
Several
footballer
years
mode.
yeah, yeah, first person football mode. I mean, they actually had that mode in, I believe it was in the old ESPN NFL 2K5 game, and they might have had it in other games in that series. But
Yeah.
I remember playing that mode years back, and it sucked so bad.
Well, you just can't see everything. You need to have a more clear view when you're playing a game like that. That's a simulation.
Yeah, and because whenever the ball is snapped and you're playing as quarterback, at least in ESPN NFL 2K5, you can only either look left, center, right, and it just snap, 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 and then by the time you try to find your receiver, you get sacked.
Yeah.
So that kind of sucked. But granted, it was the mid 2000s, and that was their whole issue. But yeah, so the VR headset thing, I'm not really all that excited about. Granted, I'm not excited about hardly anything in the upcoming games category, except for one, which is Star Ocean 5. Yay!
Of course.
Yeah, we're finally getting another Star Ocean game, except it's going to be handled by a different director. The old director said that he took the series as far as it goes, so they handed it off to a new director. I don't believe, because I know Tri-Ace got acquired by somebody a couple of years ago. I'm not sure.
Yeah, let me see if I can remember that.
Yeah. So, Tri-Ace got acquired by somebody, and now they have this bright idea to actually resurrect the Star Ocean series. So, it's a series that I'm really getting into. I played the first two. I'm playing Star Ocean Till the End of Time right now, which we just got done talking about off air before we started this.
Yes.
So I'm excited about it, but I'm also cautiously optimistic because, well, I have my issues with Star Ocean 3, and I haven't played Star Ocean 4, The Last Hope yet, but I do have it in my possession. So it's going to be really interesting to see what this new game is going to be, because it could easily screw up everything that Star Ocean fans like myself love.
True. But at the same time, Star Ocean fans like myself remember when Star Ocean 4 came out, so...
Yeah.
After that game, I think anything that kind of goes back to the first three games is welcomed.
Preferably the first two, because I had a lot more fun playing First Departure and Second Evolution. A lot more fun.
See, that's the weird thing. I actually feel kind of the opposite way personally, because I really liked Till the End of Time, and I found that going back to the first two ended actually... I just didn't feel like I liked those games as much as the other. I don't know what it was about them.
Well, the whole thing about Star Ocean Till the End of Time, Star Ocean 3, the combat system is a lot better than the first two. That can't be denied.
That's probably why.
I have my own quirks with it. For one thing, I don't like the ability, or they added in the, not ability, but you can get knocked out by running out of MP, out of mental points, which that is kind of stupid. Then why even have the health meter there at all? So you're constantly having to babysit 2 health meters at a time, and plus you have to worry about your rage meter, which is pretty much just a stamina meter. I can get over that as well, but it was a lot better than, say, Star Ocean 1 and Star Ocean 2's battle systems. What I did not like, or what I have not liked so far, is the fact that they got rid of private actions in Star Ocean 3. They got rid of the skill system, which that was one of my favorite features in the first 2 games.
Well, they do have private actions. They're just not as focused on. You haven't gotten to the point, I think, where they actually are a big thing in the game.
But when I mean private actions, I mean, you know how in the first 2 you could exit a town, press a button. I believe I played the PSP version, so you could press the square button and we go into private action mode. That's what I mean.
Oh yeah. It's a little bit different. You have to actually go to the locations in order to execute them, and you have to have certain things done in order to do them. It's more like the way that was done in Xenoblade. So
okay, well that does sort of make sense, but. One thing that really made me mad is that the crafting system, they just completely revamped that, and it made it seem like you need a bachelor's degree from MIT or Harvard just to figure that out.
Yeah, it is a little complicated.
Yeah, because I cannot do anything right now. I mean, granted, I am only at, I forget what, it's where the Inventors Guild is.
Yeah.
I just got to that part, and Welsh gave me the rundown. It's like, okay, here's what you need, blah 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 blah. So I'm expanding the workshop, but right now I don't really know how to invent anything at the moment. So it's just really complicated. Now in the previous two Star Ocean games, you could just create whatever you want whenever you want. Now you have to go to the cities that have a workshop in them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so those are my gripes and complaints and grievances about Star Ocean 3. And I know that there's a big twist coming up around mid portion of the game.
A
So
little bit further.
hopefully,
A little bit further.
yeah. Yeah, so I'm excited, but I'm also cautiously optimistic. But Star Ocean 5 after Star Ocean 4 is what you said. And I think anything could be better than that. But at the same
Pretty much.
time, it's like, do not screw this up for me.
Oh, for sure. No, I'm totally there with you. It's definitely my favorite of all the niche RPG franchises that have existed, and I'm glad that it's keeping going. Because honestly, after 4, I thought that was it. So, and
Yeah.
to
Well,
go back
I
to
would.
what you, real quick,
Yeah.
to go back to what you were saying earlier about Tri-Ace being sold, they were sold to a mobile company named Nepro Japan in February of
Okay.
last year.
Okay, that's what I thought. And they still have ownership of them?
Still have ownership.
Okay, so who is making Star Ocean 5? It's not Tri-Ace anymore, is it?
No, it is still Tri-Ace. They've actually said that Tri-Ace
Oh.
will continue to develop console games. It's kind of nice.
That's weird, especially after being acquired by a mobile games company. You'd
Yeah,
think that they
especially
would
in
just focus
Japan.
on yeah, especially in Japan, they would just focus on mobile games.
Yeah, you would think,
Oh, well.
but
Yeah, so other than that, I'm just browsing the gaming news subreddit on Reddit here, and not a whole lot to go on. I know that there's a new 2D shooter called Not a Hero that's coming to the PS4, and they've just canceled the Vita release because, well, it's the Vita. Go figure. No wonder it got canceled.
best punchline ever.
Exactly.
Best Vita
So-
game.
Well, that goes to Hot Shots Golf World Invitational. But other than that, yeah, I got nothing else to talk about gaming-wise, except for I'm playing Star Ocean 3. Duh.
Right.
Other than that, I started not Xenoblade, but Xenosaga about a month or two ago,
Yes.
and I haven't gotten that far because as soon as I got started, my first two Star Ocean games came in the mail, and I'm like, well, I will be playing Star Ocean for the first time ever, so I will see you later, Xenosaga. I'll get back to it eventually, though.
Yeah. No, those are all really great games. In terms of what I've been doing gaming-wise, I haven't been playing as much, haven't had the chance to play as much lately, with getting ready for, job opportunities and whatnot. But what I have been able to do is get back into the music games again, trying to get back into Beatmania again. But other than that, I did
Are you
get...
excited for Rock Band 4?
Yes, I haven't picked it up yet. I need to get that still.
Yeah, I only got Guitar Hero back in the day, but my friends had Rock Band, so I'd go over to his house and play it. But
Yeah.
I'm very surprised that it actually made a comeback, because I thought after all the oversaturation of the other games, Band Hero, and then there were several Rock Band expansions. Like I know there was a Beatles. I know there was there a Metallica one?
No, that was Guitar Hero. Really,
Okay.
Activision's the one that killed that whole sub-genre back in the
Shocker.
day.
So yeah, the music game genre, I'm very surprised they came back. But so long as they don't milk it like they did the last times, it should be good to go.
Yeah, from what I've heard, they're trying to make it more of a service than a bunch of games coming out at the same time. So hopefully it'll be good.
Which is the way it should be.
Yeah, for sure. But anyways, so I've been doing that. I've been playing a little bit of Star Wars Battlefront. I have been enjoying that one for what it is. It's not a super deep or complex game, but whatever. I enjoy it. It does what I need it to do, which is give me some fun battles. No, it's not as good as the previous games, but I don't expect it to be, because to be perfectly honest, it's the first time that they've done this, so I'll cut them some slack.
I don't cut them some slack because they're EA and they should know better.
But it's DICE, and that's the big thing. If it were anyone else in EA, I probably would care, but the thing about it is that with DICE, you do know that they're going to not cheap out on the content. My only gripe with the season pass is that it's $10 too expensive. If it were $10 less, then I'd say it's worth it.
Well, I think that if they were going to reboot this, they should have, improved it upon the other games, because whenever this game launched, this new Battlefront game, or as I call it, Battlefield Star Wars Edition, they should have put as much content, if not more, than the previous games, because it just doesn't make any sense. Less levels, less characters, less modes of play.
But the problem is that the quality of those levels and characters are better than the old games in terms of how much time it takes to put into it. See, I would understand that perspective if I wasn't working in CG and having spent as much time as I have doing CG now. I know, no, it takes a while to make those high-end, high-poly models that they're doing now. I mean, the standard that's being put on artists now is getting ridiculous. So, in terms of getting all the models and everything set, all the geometry and stuff for these levels, for the new game versus the old games, it's a huge difference if you actually look at the wireframes and whatnot.
I understand that, but at the same time, I really don't care how good or how the standard is. When you take away content from a previous game and you release a new game with less content, that doesn't bode well for me as a consumer.
If it was the same developer, I'd agree, but because it's a new developer, that's when you start to enter a different kind of uncharted water. Because it is a developer that, while they make similar games to the original franchise, it's not the same thing. And they're just trying to understand, okay, what is it that people actually did like about those games that's not in our main Battlefield series? So,
oh well. So, like I said, I'm really not a big fan of the new Battlefront here, guys. In case you couldn't tell, what I would really love is if they would make another Jedi Knight game, or Jedi Academy 2 or something.
We all
like that.
wish for that.
Yeah, we all wish for that. Or better yet, how about we take the best of both worlds? We take Battlefront, combine it with Rogue Squadron, and make a new game out of that. That would be fantastic.
That would just be like the perfect Star Wars game.
I know, right? Because I belong in air and space. I mean, as much as I love being a Jedi, I love being an X-Wing pilot just a little bit more, because I grew up on Rogue Squadron. That
Absolutely.
was my jam back in the day. So if we could somehow combine Rogue Squadron, X-Wing Alliance, and Battlefront all together in one, I don't think I'd have to buy another Star Wars game ever again.
And that's why you'll never get it.
And that's why we will never get it, because EA, they hate you as a consumer. Okay, so what else you got?
Let's see. Other than that, I did pick up Bloodborne. I haven't had a lot of time to get into that, but I did get it. So I'm going to be playing through that soon. And other than that, in terms of my retro gaming, I'm still playing through the Yakuza series, which reminds me I need to pick up Yakuza 5 soon. And then I have Xenoblade Chronicles X that I haven't really gotten into yet, because my youngest brother has pretty much been hogging the game.
Yeah, I got it the day it came out. I took it out of the cellophane. I put it in my Wii U, and I didn't really get to play it much, because it was late at night and I needed to go to bed. I'm like, okay, it works. And I haven't played it since, mainly because I've been on this, retro RPG kick as of late. Mainly Star Ocean is to blame. I got done with Xenogears for the first time ever about 2 months back, after I not played that game for 8 months or whatever. So I finally finished that. That game was super long.
Yeah.
So now I'm playing Star Ocean, the Star Ocean series, and prep for Star Ocean 5. So as much as I want to play Xenoblade Chronicles X, that's on the back burner. And should we touch on the controversies about that?
Sure, let's go for it.
Yeah. So for those of you not in the know, apparently there were some controversies regarding Xenoblade Chronicles X, mainly regarding one of the female characters.
The localization.
The localization for it. Thank you. The North American version got censored. And normally I am really against censorship, and I am against this sort of censorship nowadays, but I can understand where they are coming from. If they were to not give us an answer of why they censored it, then I would be really mad. But at the same time, the Japanese version had a little girl running around in a string bikini. Did you know about this?
I did see that. And yeah, my whole thing is that normally when it comes to some of these things, I expect it, especially from Nintendo. In this
Mhm.
case, I have no issues with it. It's one of those
Yeah.
really squicky things that you're like, I guess apparently this is acceptable over there, but it definitely is
It is not
something that
acceptable over here.
no,
No.
it's not.
Yeah.
So I'm on Nintendo side on that one.
Yeah. Same here. And the character you create, granted, I haven't delved into this game at all, so there is a character creation thing, right?
Yes.
Okay. And if you were to create a female character, you could not adjust the size of your bust,
Yeah.
of your breast size. So they took that out as well. And once again, I completely understand. I think it's kind of a, under the table move, but at the same time, I completely understand where Nintendo is coming from.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's all about making sure that any cultural taboos, you want to make sure that you preserve the game. But when it
Hmm.
comes to the taboo stuff, you have to be very guarded because, and this is my take on it. I would rather, if I'm a creator, I would rather people have a chance to play my game than not be able to play it all because of a couple of things that don't translate well. I
Hmm.
mean, localization is not a bad thing. If you were to play, for example, the Mario and Luigi titles or Paper Mario, any game that relies heavily on humor, if they
Yes.
were to just directly translate those games, you would hate them because
Yeah.
the humor does not translate over. It's a different culture. So what they
Oh,
do
yeah.
is they give them free reign and they say, hey, here's the incident. This is what happens. As far as the wordplay goes, go nuts.
Yeah. And one of the things, because you mentioned that, I believe the Japanese humor is mainly based on puns,
Yes,
on words that do not translate at all over here
exactly.
in the Western world. Because Japan has a very expansive vocabulary. There are words that exist over there that do not exist over here,
And vice versa.
and vice versa. Yes. So, oh, and another thing, while we're on the censorship part, Tecmo Koei, this is a subject that's near and dear to my heart. Tecmo Koei, they recently released Dead or Alive Extreme 3 for the PlayStation 4 and I believe Xbox One. Now, people were all excited, including me, until we realized that we weren't going to get the game over here at all. Now, granted, you could probably say I'm going to defend them because they didn't they didn't announce a release date over
Yeah.
here in the West at all. And when I asked why, it was because of the whole social justice warrior BS that is completely, absurd to not only gaming but to society at large. Now that I am completely 110% against. I have no idea why they did not release it. I guess it's because of that. In fact, I know it's because of that because I know a lot of people were going to make a stink out of it. But to this I say, those people that are going to complain about how it's sexist and misogynist, they weren't going to play the game anyway.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's one of the hard ones because for me, I kind of get both sides of the situation. I think that first of all, the last game didn't sell well, so it makes sense
Well,
why
of
they're not
course
bringing
not,
it
because
over.
the last game was sold on the Xbox 360 exclusively,
And
and
on top
that's
of that, it also was a pretty crappy game, is what I've heard.
yeah. Well, as someone who owns both the DOA Extreme Beach Volleyball titles, both games are not good. Although the second one I find slightly better, simply because of the jet ski racing, because that's the closest thing that I'm ever going to get to a Wave Race sequel. Thanks a lot, Nintendo. But what I'm saying is this: don't give in to these cry bullies, because that's exactly what they are. They're cry bullies. They're a very low numbered minority, but they are also very loud. And whenever you give in to them, this is just going to make your case even worse. Whenever you are on the fence about releasing a game and you listen to these people, more and more people are going to be mad at you, and they're not going to support your product. They're not going to buy it. Now, yes, I know that you can import the game, but at the same time, those are so many hoops that I should not have to jump through as a consumer. Because if I did import it, because they translated it all and they do have an English language option, if I were to import that and they release some DLC for it, in order for me to get that DLC, I'd have to make a Japanese PSN account and I'd have to get yen cards in order to buy the DLC that came out for the game. And that's just something I shouldn't have to do. Oh man, it's just a complete and utter mess.
Yeah, unfortunately, that seems to just be a thing right now in terms of all reactions. I mean, in the non-gaming example, look at the reaction to the entire marketing fiasco that Hasbro's gotten themselves into with not featuring Rey enough.
From Star Wars Episode 7, by the way, you should go see that if you haven't already, folks.
I've seen it 4 times.
Lucky, I've only seen it once. So, yeah, I kind of do understand that, though, because she's kind of a central part of the movie, and that her character piece isn't going to be in the latest Monopoly edition. That is kind of stupid.
Well, they have said that the reason they didn't do it is because they were told from Disney marketing, do not feature her until after the movie is out, because we don't want any plot spoilers out there. Because, well, I'm going to go ahead and enter spoiler territory. It's been more than a month. If you're listening to this, you know how big of a Star Wars fan I am. So,
if you haven't seen it by now, you have no one to blame but yourself.
Yeah. So, anyways, go ahead and skip to about 2 minutes from here. If you haven't for some reason. So anyways, so as far as that goes, it makes sense. They didn't want to leak that Rey is the Jedi and not Finn. I get that. But at the same time, it's like you knew this was going to happen. You knew that people were just looking for something. And it's really tough because they're really trying to make Rey this big character as a female main character. And I like that. I mean, granted, I've got some problems with her as a character because I think they didn't give her enough time to fully develop, but
exactly,
that's a writing issue. That's not the concept of the main character of the new Star Wars trilogy being a girl. I think it's a great idea. I just wish that she was a character with more depth. I'm hoping that Episode 8 gives us that, but we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah. So hopefully they might release another version of the Monopoly.
Actually, they said they're doing that.
Oh, thank God. That's good. But other than that, by the way, Social Justice Warriors, shut up and just let us enjoy our games. And yes, I know that it features that we're back on DOA for a moment. Dead or Alive, its main draw, sexy females in bikinis is not sexist. Being sexually attractive doesn't automatically make it sexist. Can I drive that point home any clearer? It does not make it sexist. Okay, so other than that, yeah. Now, I haven't imported it, nor do I want to import it because of the reasons I mentioned, and they removed the jet ski racing, so there goes my hype for that game already. So, yeah. Oh, by the way, Nintendo, release Wave Race sequel. Thank you for Project NX whenever you get time to it. Thank you.
Yeah, just make sure that we get F-Zero first.
That too.
There's a rumor about that, actually.
Yeah, there is, but until it actually gets confirmed, I'm not holding my breath. We haven't seen a new F-Zero game in God knows how long. Since 2003, I want to say, when F-Zero GX came out.
Yeah, which is pretty much still the best fast racer ever.
Even though it's hard as ever-loving crap.
But that's why it's so good.
That's why it's so good. I mean, F-Zero X for the N64, I remember playing. I'm like, man, this is pretty hard. Then I played GX for the first time. I'm like, this is insanity.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, it's because the guys at Amusement Vision took it, so
yeah.
Never let Sega make a Nintendo hard game.
Yeah, or else they will take Nintendo hard and crank it up to 11, and they will be the bane of your existence for God knows how long.
I miss that developer so much.
You and me both, man. You and me both. Oh, here's something that's near and dear to my heart as well, and maybe yours too, but probably more for me. Are you excited for a Final Fantasy VII remake?
Yes.
Thank you. So I know that this has gotten this in and of itself, again, more controversy with this issue, but I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. In fact, I think it's going to be a great experience.
Mm-hmm.
For one thing, they're changing everything, which they're getting rid of the old turn-based combat system, and I know a lot of old school gamers were mad about that. I was a little annoyed with that at first, but then I realized, wait a second, it's 2016 right now. You can't really do a big AAA budgeted JRPG turn-based style anymore. It just will not work.
Well, even more than that, if I want the turn-based style combat, I'll just go play the old game. It's not like they're taking it away from me. And they haven't said the new one is 100% real-time. It looks more like a Xenoblade kind of thing.
It does, or if you want to get closer to Square Enix, it looks like a cross between Kingdom Hearts and Dare I say this, Final Fantasy 13. Ugh,
Yeah,
please no
but at
lightning in this
least it's
game.
the ATB side of it.
Yeah, at least that is good, and it's going to be fully voiced. No word on whether it's going to be dual audio for the international release. I hope it's dual audio because I want to listen to the Japanese voices as opposed to the English. Not the fact that the English ones were bad though. I heard they're getting back all the cast from the Advent Children
Yes.
movie, so that's good. The English voice actor for Cloud, I really enjoyed his work.
Yeah.
But the biggest problem is that it's going to be released in episodic fashion. Now, I was mad at first when they announced this,
Mhm.
but at the same time, after I calmed down, I realized this might not be such a bad thing. In fact, it could be a really good thing for
It could
gaming in
be.
the future.
Yeah,
Because-
because here's the thing. It's like we've said before.
Yeah.
Content. The content in the original game.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's a big game.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to split into 3 parts and you're going to make this world fully explorable and you're going to be adding content to that, normally it'd be one of those things I'd be like, I don't know. But if they're going to make it to where it's like $40, or even if it is full price, but they make it to where each entry is a good solid 40-hour playtime, I'm okay with it.
Yes. Well, that, and I concur, because this is more along the future of gaming side of things. So I know a lot of people are mad about the episodic fashion, but I do think that this is where games in the future are going to go. It's going to be released in chunks. And I think that's a good thing, because how many times have you been on the fence where you want to try a game, but you don't want to pay full price for it? So you end up having to wait until a Steam sale comes, or, whatever the Steam sale equivalent is on PSN and Xbox One.
Well, the other thing is that, like, how long these games take to come out. I mean, we've been sitting here waiting for Final Fantasy Versus 13, now Final Fantasy 15, for over a decade.
Yeah,
and it's finally coming out. It's going to be awesome, but, it would have been nice if they had done it episodically. I could have played this game beyond the little demo they gave me a year ago, probably 3 years ago.
Yeah, and doubly so for us who have been waiting for a Final Fantasy VII remake for darn near 2 decades. So, I mean, the original game came out in 1997, and it's now 2016, so that's 19 years, and we're finally going to be able to get it. But at the same time, going back to my original point, if you're on the fence about something, isn't it better to just pay $20 or anywhere from $20 to $40 for a sizable chunk of the game, and that way you get to play it, you get to experience it, and that way you can either decide for yourself that, hey, this looks like an awesome game, I want to buy the rest of it, or no, I really wasn't feeling that, so I'll just take my lumps, I'll lose the $20 or however much the chapter is,
Right.
and then I won't play the rest of the game. I think that is more power to the consumer than what people are realizing.
Yeah. As long as it's not another Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zero situation where it's just not enough
That was horrible.
game. Yeah, the idea is good, but there needed to be more game. If the game was like twice the length, then it would have been okay.
Yeah. Or Gran Turismo 5 Prologue, if
Right.
you want to go back further than that.
Right.
But I think the episodic nature of not only Final Fantasy VII Remake, but possibly other games in the future, I think that's a very good direction for the industry to go. So that way, if you buy a game and it sucks, you're not out $60, you're only out $20.
Yeah.
And that feels a lot better.
Exactly. And it'll give more people an opportunity to actually play your game.
Yeah. And you may not even be out that $20 anymore either, because Steam, not recently, but Steam does digital buybacks now, so you can get refunds on that.
Exactly.
So maybe, hopefully, knock on wood, that Sony, Microsoft, and even Nintendo, they follow Steam's lead, so that if you buy a game, you could, and if you don't like it, you can return it in X amount of time and get your full refund back.
All right. Well, we've kind of beat gaming into the ground for this episode. We'll talk more later about that. But, of course, it's the high-level podcast, so we're going to talk about gaming quite a bit. So, right after the segue jump and the music, we'll be coming back to talk about anime, manga, and wrestling. Stay tuned.
Welcome back, listeners. This is once again LordofIce72, along with my co-host
TL21xx, and you are listening to the High Level Podcast, and it's time to talk about what we're watching.
Japanese cartoons and reading Japanese comic books. Woohoo!
Yes, indeed. So, anime and manga, what have you been up to, my man?
Well, other than reading Fairy Tail, in fact, I really need to get back into it because I am like 18 chapters behind, so nobody spoil anything for me. I have been absolutely hooked to this newer manga. It came out last year or 2 years ago called Seraph of the End, Vampire Reign.
Mm-hmm.
This has been one of the breakout hits, one of the more surprising hits that I've seen, because even though it recently came out about a year or 2 years ago, it's already got a anime that's 2 seasons in with a third season on the way. So I just find that very impressive. And I think I've seen all of season 1. I haven't even started on season 2 yet, but I'm fully caught up on the manga, and I'm just really impressed with what this is. Now, for those of you who don't know, Seraph of the End it's a vampire manga, hence the name Seraph of the End, Vampire Reign. So it focuses on these two kids. Well, they're kids at the beginning, and then there's a time skip, and then they're teenagers. One of the kids' name is Yuichiro, or Yu for short, and the other guy's name is Michaela, or Mika for short. And yes, I know Michaela is a very strange name for a guy, but whatever. I didn't make the show, so sorry, people. So it basically focuses on these two kids that are in an orphanage in a rundown city. Well, it's in the future, a not too distant future, actually. I think it's set in like year 2020. Basically, there is a virus that wipes out a big portion of humanity throughout the world. But the virus only affects those who are about 13 years or older. So if you're a little kid, like these two people are at the beginning of the series, then you're golden. So that's the reason why they're in the orphanage at the beginning. And vampires have basically taken over Japan. So they treat the humans like livestock. They don't see them as equals. So they're constantly getting their blood drained, not through traditional blood biting like you would see in a traditional vampire manga or vampire anything, although that does take place too. But they have to get their blood siphoned off daily, and it's not a very pleasant experience. And basically, there are places where you go to get this done. So once you get your blood siphoned off, you are returned to your group, your assigned, well, family, for lack of a better term. And so Yuichiro, as a little kid, along with Mika, they plan on escaping this place, basically just to get away from the vampires. And the main vampire bad guy, his name is Ferid Bathory, if I'm pronouncing his name right. And he is basically my favorite villain right now in all of anime and manga. I mean, this guy is just so sinister and so evil. It is just amazing what this guy can do. Plus, he's voiced by Eric Vale in the English dub, and I've always liked Eric Vale's work. So what I'm getting to is that they try to escape all the orphanage and the little kids. It doesn't work. All the kids get killed except you. And so we flash forward a couple years later. He's now a teenager in a school, because it's manga. Of course, there would be a school setting.
Oh, God.
So, yeah, I know. But actually, the school system doesn't last very long. So that's only a minor part. So if you can get past that part, you're golden. So he's basically in the it's a humans versus vampire. Yu is a human who is trying to combat the vampires because he thinks his friend is dead. His friend Mika is dead. Surprise, surprise. Mika's not dead. He gets turned into a vampire by Ferid Bathory. So you can pretty much tell where this is going. It's a standard battle manga, but it gets pretty dark. It's kind of graphic too. So it's just really good. I highly recommend you read it and watch it because the anime is great too. Other than Ferid Bathory being my favorite villain in the series, there's also another vampire who's the vampire queen. Her name is Cruel Tepes, or as they pronounce it in the anime, Kururu. And she is voiced by, I believe, Monica Rial, because of course she would voice a little lowly vampire. She did this before in Dance of the Vampire Bund. But
Who's the
Montreal,
distributor for it?
the distributor, good question. I have no freaking idea. Let me look that up for you.
Yeah,
Okay, so the publisher is by Shueisha, our good friends at Shueisha, and English publisher is Viz Media.
of course.
Written by Takeya Kagumi, if I'm pronouncing his or her name right. And it's one of those anime and manga that has a very rare, not rare, but it's unusual. That's written by one person and illustrated by another. Yamato Yamamoto is another one. Is the guy that actually illustrates it. So basically, I'm really high on this manga. I really hope it has a staying power, and I'm very impressed that it's getting third season so quickly.
Very cool.
So other than that, I got started on Prison School just today. Actually, I read the first chapter. It looks interesting. However, I'm not exactly feeling the art style on this one. It's not as detailed, and it just kind of looks ugly. It reminds me of Hajime Isayama's work in Attack on Titan. I mean, yeah, I'm getting a
thick lines.
Yeah, a lot of that. But with Isayama, with Attack on Titan, it's like good picture, good picture, good picture, and then you're like scrolling, and then all of a sudden, what in the world happened here? It's like a 3-year-old drew this. So the art style in Prison School, I'm not exactly feeling it right now, but granted, I only read the first chapter, so hopefully it gets better, because a mangaka's art style improves dramatically over the course of a series, as you well know.
Absolutely.
So that's basically all I got on the anime and manga front. What are you reading?
Well, let's see. In terms of reading, I've been slowly catching up with Assassination Classroom, which is funny because I was just beating up on the school setting, but I love Ass Class. I don't know why, but it's
Ass
just
Class.
That's the legit name for it. It's like Ass Creed, Ass Class.
I know, but I'm suddenly reminded of Chris Jericho and Christian all those years ago on SmackDown. What are you doing? Why are you making fun of my Christian's ass cream? Oh man.
So anyways, yeah, I've been going through that. In terms of that's my manga that I've been reading. In terms of anime, I've been currently trying to catch up with last season. I finally sat down and saw the little internet darling from last year that is not necessarily a good anime so much as it is an enjoyable anime, and that would be Ninja Slayer from Animation. Finally saw that. If you've not seen that, it's on Hulu right now for free. Just watch the first episode. If you don't watch the rest, I understand, but watch the first episode.
I'm looking at this right now.
It's so... I'm not going to say anything else. You need to go in blind.
I'm getting a very 80s vibe from this.
You'll see.
I don't know why.
You will see.
I don't know why, but no, this is right up my alley because I freaking love 80s anime. Because that to me, the 1980s was the golden era for anime for me.
For me, it starts in 80. I'm willing to include a good chunk of the 90s in it.
Well, early to mid 90s.
Yeah.
Yes.
There is a little bit of a period where it kind of lulls for a bit, but I thought there was a lot of stuff that came out in the early 2000s that was pretty good, and then it just like flatlines again.
Yeah, but I'm a sucker for anything 80s anime because I love the 80s art style.
Yeah.
But not that Ninja Slayer from Animation has it, but it looks pretty cool. It looks cheesy, and I can enjoy a good cheesy anime every once in a while. So I'll have to give this one a watch.
Definitely watch the first episode and then message me when you see it. We're gonna talk about this next episode because now I really want to see your reaction.
Am I gonna laugh? This isn't one of those hyper violent early 90s style shows, is it? Because I could do without that.
It's not one of those, but
okay, good.
You have no clue what you're walking into, and I love it.
Oh, okay. It's cyberpunk. Okay, now I have to watch this.
Okay. Okay, I'm looking forward to the next episode now. Okay, so I've been catching up with that. And then I've also, for Christmas, I ended up getting, me and my brothers, we got 2 Blu-rays that we have been so desperately wanting to get for years. And it finally came out last year, and it was under the tree, finally. The original
and that would be?
Mobile Suit Gundam.
Ooh, straight out of 79.
Absolutely. Stinkin' love it. so good. So good. Like, I didn't realize how hard sci-fi Gundam is until I was watching this, and I realized, wow, they really do devote themselves to trying. Not necessarily getting everything right, but trying to be realistic. Like, they don't have gravity. I didn't notice that, but, like, they don't do gravity in space. That's crazy.
They're not supposed to.
I love that. So, I've been watching that, enjoying it. On top of that, I've also been trying to get my girlfriend into the original Full Metal Alchemist. She's been watching it. She's been enjoying it. It's one of those she's been wanting to watch for a long time and just hadn't. So,
the original or Brotherhood?
The original, because I want her to be able to appreciate that before watching Brotherhood. Because once you watch Brotherhood, you can't go back.
I get where you're coming from. You kind of don't want to start her off on the very best thing because everything sucks in comparison.
Well, the other thing is that the original Full Metal Alchemist is a good series. It's just that once you see Brotherhood, you can't go back to it. I mean, you can, but you need to see that one first because the story arc that it goes into, once you've seen Brotherhood, you see that, yeah, it's totally different people. It doesn't connect. Whereas, when you're first watching FMA, the original, there is a little bit of forgivability that doesn't exist if you do it the other way around.
I do need to get back into reading the original manga because I was reading it, and for whatever reason I stopped because I keep a manga list that's like 5 miles long. So that's the reason why.
No, I understand.
Yeah, FMA, that is a very, very good show. Is your girlfriend a newcomer?
She's not. She kind of watched anime back in middle school and high school. She was in the anime club, but for some reason she just had not seen FMA. It's really weird.
Okay, so she's not a lapsed fan.
No.
Like that. Okay.
No, nothing like that. It's just one of those things that she just hadn't seen it, and it was one of those, she's like, I need to see that. The one that she was really into is Case Closed, so...
Oh, Detective Conan.
Yes, so that should tell you what her tastes skew towards.
Well, the thing about Detective Conan, I love that show, especially whenever it was on Adult Swim.
Yeah.
The thing about it is that it drags on and on. I mean, I think the manga is over 800, 900 chapters long.
Yeah.
And I think in real life, Kuno, the little detective kid, he was an adult, and because of something happened, story reasons, he's now a little kid.
Right.
He could have grown up twice over already in the span this manga has gone. So and so what's taken so long? It's kind of like Ash Ketchum never being out of 10 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of one of the I don't know. I approach manga and anime from a meta standpoint.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons why. It's one of the reasons why I couldn't get into Monster Musume, because one thing, it looks really weird. I mean, it's a monster girl harem series that my friends have been trying to get me into it, but at the same time, due to meta reasons, and I think you understand what I'm coming from, I can't get into it because how is that guy supposed to, have happy time with any of these girls?
A little problematic.
The snake one. Yeah, the snake one, the snake girl, who I understand is like the fan favorite and is like the main girl. I'm like, how is he supposed to have happy time with her?
Yeah.
The harpy girl makes sense because at least all the stuff is in the right place. But there's a horse girl, there's a spider girl, and my God, I don't even want to imagine thinking about that. Yeah. So that's the reason why I can't get into it. Now, I have nothing against Monster Girl, but I'm more traditional when it comes to my Monster Girl harems, namely Rosario Vampire. Vampire, witch, succubus, snow Monster Girl, who's really cute, even though she's kind of stupid.
Yeah.
Those kind of, that kind of stuff. So I'm more traditionalist when it comes to that. Yeah. But Monster Musume, I'm trying to get into it. I can't, for the life of me, get into it now, but I'm not going to stop trying.
Yeah. So I think that's everything I've been watching and reading. Let me double think. Yeah. So that's why I've been watching and reading. So I think that will just about wrap that up. Let's talk a little bit about RWBY, because season 3 has been interesting. They've kind of, by requirement, circumstances of life, have chosen to take a more storyline focused season, and it makes sense why.
Yes.
There also was some news recently about one of the animators leaving, and I really cannot comment too much on any of this behind the scenes stuff, just because of my previous connections with the company, and I don't want to burn any bridges because it's a great company and it was a great time working there.
Yeah.
But it's very obvious that some of the issues that have been having on the back end, losing Monty and whatnot, are indeed infecting the product, and it's to be expected. It's to be expected. You lose a lead, that's what happens. But I think they're handling it mostly well. I just wish that when they have those action sequences, it's so hard to watch the animation.
I understand. I'm with you there. Mostly
it's so close to being good.
Yeah, because whenever I'm with you, because whenever there's an action sequence, I have to resist the temptation to skip ahead and I want to just tell me who wins the fight because I have no interest in watching the action.
Yeah,
and that's really weird.
What's weird is that the action is the whole reason you used to watch RWBY. I think that's what's throwing us off. Yeah. And now, because they don't have Monty and his eye, that's the big thing. Like, when you look at the animation, even just the intro, and I'm not even talking about the music, because I know that's a big piece of contention. But when you look at it, the way that it's animated, the way that it was rendered, it feels like it was a draft and that they needed one or two more passes to make it work. And some of the editing I've seen, and I'm not sure if it's an editing issue or if it's really a rendering issue, a keyframe issue. Like, it just feels like it's not as tight as it used to be. It feels like they're letting things breathe a little bit more than they should in terms of the way that the animation is being done. And it should be a little bit quicker in order to just, capture that essence of what the world of RWBY is, I think.
Exactly. To me, this whole Volume 3, Season 3, whatever you want to call it.
Volume 3.
Yeah, Volume 3, it's the tournament arc.
Yeah.
If we were talking, any generic shonen battle manga has a tournament arc, and this is RWBY's version of it.
It is.
Not to say that that's a bad thing. I mean, there are some really enjoyable tournament arcs in manga and anime history. Yeah, but it just seems that the tempo has really slowed down for Volume 3. It just seems that it's like by the time I finish one episode, I'm thinking, okay, now something's going to happen. But by the time something's about to happen, credits roll. And I get why they're doing that. They're following the old Hollywood adage of leave them wanting more, which they're doing a tremendous job of doing that.
Definitely.
But it just seems that up until the latest episode, which I won't spoil because I know you're about 4 episodes in arrears.
Right.
It seems now that we're finally getting down to the nitty-gritty of this season, to which I am ecstatic for. And some major developments happened. One that involved Yang, and I'm sure anyone that watches RWBY knows what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, it finally seems that we're finally going to get the payoff that we've been waiting for the past 8 or so episodes. So, and another thing I want to touch on, not just the animation, but the music is kind of
Yeah.
I'm going to be straight up honest with you. Okay, the intro for Season 1, I love that song.
So good.
But it's such a great song. But for Volumes 2 and 3, honestly, they're not that good.
They're not.
And I hope the band or the woman that sings the intros of those songs don't take it personally, but no, it's just not as good as the first one. In fact, it takes a dramatic leap off a cliff after the Season 1 intro. Now, some of the actual in-episode music isn't too bad, but that intro for Volumes 2 and 3, Volume 2 is tolerable. Volume 3 is not.
Yeah, and I think some of it is also the fact that maybe the animation itself is a little too on the nose with going with the lyrics. I think that doesn't help either.
Oh,
it's really not helping.
It just gives me like visual whiplash whenever I see it. If that
Definitely.
Makes any. Yep. And I also ran across something. Now I can't confirm or deny this because I'm a part of like several RWBY groups on Facebook. but is it true that Vic Mignogna is voicing Crow, at least in this series?
That is 100% correct.
Okay.
I was going to actually ask you, so what do you think about Vic?
I have nothing against Vic. Great voice actor, tremendous person. I love him. I've met him at a convention. He's very nice to me. I didn't get to talk to him all that much because he was wiped out after talking with so many people. But my issue is that these big name voice actors are starting to invade a series that doesn't really need them. And this goes beyond Vic. I'm not bashing Vic, and I'm not bashing any other voice actor because, namely, and these guys aren't in RWBY. I'm just throwing big names out there.
Yeah.
Troy Baker, Nolan North, Steve Blum, and all the rest of them. Those big name voice actors, they need to go away for a while. I'm sick and tired of hearing them. They are completely overexposed, and I have absolutely no idea why Vic Mignogna is in RWBY, except for the fact that I know he has to be in it, and Rooster Teeth granted him that request. But it just seems that it's completely unnecessary because the Rooster Teeth employees, they do all the voice work, and they
not actually true, believe it or not.
Really? They don't?
Yeah, they actually will get people from outside the company. They do cast people as voice actors. It's not just people within the company. They used to do that back in the early days of RVB, but even some of those early voice actors for RVB actually have left and just do the voices now. So,
well, at the same time, it just does not seem needed for me because
I'm okay with it, but you have to keep in mind the reason there's a connect is because if you recall correctly, and I know this is the case, I'm gonna fix that in post because if you can recall, Michael from Achievement Hunter actually is a voice actor of Rafuni.
Okay.
So I think that's where the connect comes from. And overall, it does make sense. I feel like if they want to be taken a little bit more seriously, it's good to have some of the voice actors. And really, the people you need to blame at this point for the overexposure, it's not the voice actors. It's the voice directors. Those are the people you need to be frustrated with.
Yeah,
the
and
casters.
Trust me, I could pick several bones with anyone that says they're a voice director with not only RWBY, but with any Funimation project.
Yeah.
Because they keep using the same people over and over and over. It's the John Cena treatment.
Yeah.
And it has just frustrated me beyond belief that Funimation, and I know I don't mean to go off base here, but I just need to get this off my chest. How Funimation continues to repeatedly use the same voice actors. Now, they're fun voice actors. They're great at what they do. But at the same time, I don't like hearing the same voice over and over and over again.
Well, it would be fine if it was the same people. Well, it would be fine if it was the same people doing the voices for smaller roles, but the problem is that's the same people for major primary roles. That's the real issue.
Yeah, exactly. So what I'm saying is, can we voice acting at large, anyone that's doing voice work, whether it's for anime or cartoons or video games, can we please get some new blood in there? I am sick to death of hearing the same people, Travis Willingham, Vic Mignogna. Even though I love you, Vic, I'm getting sick and tired of hearing you. And not to mention Nolan North, Steve Blum, and freaking Troy Baker. Can that guy just not go away for a while?
Troy.
Yeah, it just makes me mad whenever I hear his voice. Not the fact that he's a bad voice actor, but just the fact that he is completely overexposed, and I don't like hearing him anymore.
No, I understand that one.
I mean, whenever I hear his voice, I have to mute the TV.
Yeah.
Whenever like he does several video game voice roles, so I just have to mute the TV because I just can't stand him anymore.
Yeah. All right, so I think that just about covers anime, manga, things along those lines. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we will be diving into our thoughts on wrestling and take it home for this pilot episode of the High Level Podcast. Stay tuned. And welcome back, guys and gals, to the High Level Podcast. And at this point in the show, we have hit the pro wrestling stage. And as you can guess, we really don't have as much to talk about this time, and that is the WWE's fault.
All their fault.
It's rough.
Although
it really
is the Royal Rumble, and it is my favorite event of the year outside of WrestleMania, of course. So, I mean, the Royal Rumble match is always the selling point of the actual Royal Rumble pay-per-view itself.
Absolutely.
I mean, because it's not just about the main guys on the main roster, but you also get some special surprises. I mean, there were some surprises last year that I got excited for. DDP was a nice touch.
That was out of left
there's
field.
No telling who's gonna. Yeah, there's no telling who's gonna show up. Although, if you believe some of the rumor mills and the dirt sheets, there are apparently some rumors going around that Shawn Michaels got offered a lot of money to appear in the Royal Rumble. So that would be cool to see him again.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's basically the first time since 1992, I want to say, that the WWE World Heavyweight Championship is up for grabs in the Royal Rumble, and I always wondered why they didn't do this more often.
Yeah, it's just a bummer that the way that they've booked it is.
yeah, the way that they booked it
ideal.
was stupid, but then again, it's the booking themselves and Vince McMahon and the way that he runs the ship. So blame him, of course. I mean, there really is no logical way of booking the WWE World Heavyweight Championship to be up for grabs in this match, except that Vince is a mean, mean man.
Pretty much.
Other than that, it's like, okay, fine. But who you got winning it?
Is this even a question? It has to be either Roman Reigns retaining, which would be stupid and would make zero sense. So it's probably not going to be him. They want him to chase. So that only leaves two other people, Brock or Triple H. Either one of them, it makes for an interesting story. It's just too bad that they're going to get stuck wrestling Roman Reigns at the main event of WrestleMania. I don't know. I'm just not digging that. But, you know, if my inner smart mark really wants AJ Styles to get hot shot at the title, which we haven't talked about yet, so we should probably talk about.
He's not going into the Rumble. He's
not going
to be in the Rumble. If anything, they're going to put him on post-Rumble Raw, if anything. But, I mean, yeah, there are rumors, but at the same time, I don't believe that. I think that they're just going to hold him off until after the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
But I'm with you there. I would love to see AJ Styles get hot shot at the title, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah. Speaking of which, real quick, we've talked about it before earlier in the cast, and the reason that we haven't really hit on it yet is, one, we actually had to do this part later in the pickup session because, you know, life happens. But two, shoot, I lost my freaking, oh well, I'll cut that out.
Okay. So anyway,
got too excited.
Yeah.
So anyways, we haven't really talked about it yet on the cast because, one, we, you know, kind of started how to record this later. But the big thing is that we just got so excited about talking about the Rumble that we kind of forgot to bring up the major acquisition of talent that WWE just had, stealing some talent from New Japan.
Exactly. My favorite Japanese wrestlers, or one of my favorites, Shinsuke Nakamura. He is now the property of World Wrestling Entertainment, as is AJ Styles, as we alluded to earlier. And then there's, I keep wanting to call him Luke Gallows because that's what he used to be called, but his name is now Doc Gallows. Just force a habit. So there's Doc Gallows, and is it Carl Anderson?
Yes, Carl Anderson.
I know it's somebody in. Yeah, Shotgun Carl Anderson, I want to say. Yep. So those four guys, they're basically trying to build, they want the Bullet Club in WWE. Let's just go out and say it. However, I don't know if they're going to be called the Bullet Club. They're probably going to be Balor Club.
Yeah, they've already got the shirts.
Yeah, they've already got the shirts. However, I would love it if WWE could get the license from New Japan and just be full-on Bullet Club. But that's just chasing windmills at this point. So those are the four guys that WWE has snatched away from New Japan, and I am very excited to see what they can do. However, my excitement is a little tapered because we all know how WWE likes to screw things up royally, so who knows what their future endeavors lie. Uh, but other than that, I'm cautiously optimistic about what those four can do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, as far as who my pick is to win the Rumble, I'm with you. It's either going to be Lesnar or Triple H, and I'm going to say with Lesnar because I think that's the money match at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think that would be the best.
Speaking of Mania, it's in our backyard.
Yeah, are you going to go?
Up in Dallas. I don't know. It's looking like it's going to be a no just because of the current seating situation. It's over $100 for a seat. And the fact of the matter is that standing room only over at Jerry's World is not exactly the prime place to be. However, that might change because the current prices at Mania, those are from people that were really excited for what was supposed to be a really good Mania card. And with the amount of injuries that have come around, including, of all people, John Cena most likely missing Mania, that might change.
Even with John Cena's mutant healing powers a la Wolverine, he's still most likely out of WrestleMania 32.
How you feel about that?
I don't like Cena, so I'm cool with it. But I understand from a business aspect, he's really important.
See, and if you had asked me like a year ago, I'd be with you. But the past year, John Cena has completely shifted his moveset and has become probably one of the most consistently entertaining wrestlers on the roster right now.
Well, no question here, no argument here. I still just find him stale, and he could be the second coming of Bret Hart as far as moveset is concerned, and I still would not be entertained by him because his gimmick is stale, and I want him to turn heel, which it will never happen. I admit this, but it's just something that it's never going to happen. I loved him back when he was the Doctor of Thugonomics, back when he was a quote heel, and then they turned him face, and that was pretty much the end of his run. As for me is concerned, as far as I am concerned, I should say. But yeah, I mean, he's an entertaining wrestler, like in-ring moveset. At the same time, I just hate his gimmick still. So I am not a fan of John Cena, nor will I ever be unless they turn him heel.
No, I understand.
Yep. So yeah, I even read something on Kayfabe News that actually said that WrestleMania 32 site shifted to a hospital ward because of all the injuries. God, I love you, Kayfabe News. Never change.
So, anyways, I guess that is a big point to talk about, the number of injuries and how many of them relate to rotator cuffs. I mean,
I don't know. I mean, I think it's just one of those things. I don't know whether it's the way that they're training those people down at NXT or it's just one of those things. So it's just really unfortunate. I mean, you can't really fault WWE. I mean, you can fault them for a lot of things, but the injury bug, yeah, you can't really fault them for that.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. It's just a bummer that's happening now, and I'm sure that Vince is quaking his boots because the problem is he has no backup. What happens when his plan fails? Because it looks like it's going to.
Yeah, well, I will have no sympathy for Vince because he should have had a backup plan. He should have built more stars. He should have done a lot of things, but he didn't because he's a stubborn, petty old man, and he's set in his ways, and quite frankly, he needs to retire.
Pretty much. I mean, what does this mean for the company, though?
What does it mean for the company?
Yeah.
They're WWE. I think they're going to be fine.
Yeah, especially when you look at their subscription rates. But, you know, the hard part that we're going into this is that Raw ratings have been plummeting. They seem to be okay with that, which they would never have been okay with that in the past. I think the problem is that the media industry is shifting so hard right now that they're getting away with things that they would never be able to get away with normally.
Well, they're the only game in town. Of course, they wouldn't have been fine with it back 20 years ago when I was a little kid and you had WCW breathing down their neck. But
well, I don't even think it's the only game in town argument that's causing it. I think right now it's more the fact that because of how diverse the media industry is right now with all the different platforms, it's kind of masking the fact that they're losing numbers because the product sucks, not because of people cutting the cable.
The only game in town, and to a lesser extent, they are correct as far as mainstream wrestling goes. There are other wrestling products out there for the diehard wrestling fans that love wrestling. I mean, there's Ring of Honor, Lucha Underground's season 2 is going to start up soon. I think next week, maybe.
Yes.
There's New Japan on Access TV. Yeah. There's New Japan Pro Wrestling, which is on Access TV. And there's also the New Japan World subscription, which is basically New Japan's take on the WWE network, which I have and I love it.
It's
It's
cheaper
so
too, right?
cool. Yeah, it is cheaper. I think it comes down to like maybe as little as $8.77 once the exchange rate is all worked out.
Wow.
And oh, by the way, this news just broke recently, but on Access TV, guess who they got to do the English commentary? Did you hear about
Good
this?
old JR.
Jim Ross is back where he needs to belong, and that's at ringside, well, or pseudo ringside in this case, for a wrestling promotion, and he's back calling wrestling matches just the way God intended.
That's good.
So, yeah. So I just hope that WWE can figure it out, but I think they're going to be fine. I really think that the problem lies with Vince and to a lesser extent Kevin Dunn. I think Triple H really needs to. The sooner he takes over that company, the better.
Yeah.
I think you'll agree with me on that
because
he actually
Absolutely.
gets it. He gets wrestling. Vince doesn't.
Yeah, and the other thing is that you just have to look at the fact that he doesn't care if it's a WWE creation or not. He just cares, is this good wrestling? And the fact that that's what he cares about is really encouraging.
Yes. Unlike Vince, who is really confused whenever people know who AJ Styles is, and Vince is infuriated because how do they know who this guy is? He's not a WWE guy. You know, that sort of thing. That's an awful impersonation of Vince McMahon. Sorry about that, folks.
It's all good. It's
but
fine.
Yeah. So, anyway, not that we're breaking any new news here, but the problems with WWE, it's at the top. It's with Vince and Kevin Dunn, per usual, and creative. But we're still going to watch. I mean, I haven't been watching Raw. I've just been watching NXT, and when I need to watch Raw, I usually just catch it on Hulu.
Yeah, to be perfectly honest, I'm in the same boat.
Yeah. But with the new talent acquisition that they got, I might watch a couple episodes. But if I think they're going to do what they've always done with new talent acquisitions, and that is push them for a couple weeks and then relegate them to mid card or even worse, then it won't hold my interest for long. No. It's the reason why I only watch NXT nowadays full time, because NXT is fantastic. I love it. Triple H is the brainchild of that. That's his baby. He gets it. Once those NXT guys go up to the main roster, they are dead. Essentially dead. I mean, look at what poor Tyler Breeze is going through right now. He is getting buried left and right. Now, granted, Kevin Owens is a good example. He's still doing all right. He has a card, he has a match on the Royal Rumble card against Dean Ambrose for the IC title. But
that'll be a good match.
Yeah, that will be. But granted, the rest of the NXT guys, there really isn't a whole lot to say about them. It's not a good track record. I mean, look what the Ascension went through.
Well, to be fair,
yeah.
On this one, Tyler Breeze's gimmick, he's supposed to be a jobber, and you can tell they're waiting for Zoolander 2 to hit before they really push him. And then with the Ascension, really?
Yeah.
Use the Ascension as an example of how to screw up an NXT tag team?
Well, they were gods on NXT. Granted, I really wasn't a huge fan of theirs, but I can understand why they were loved on NXT. But once they made it to the main roster, all Vince saw was, oh, we can do the Road Warriors 2.0, that sort of thing. And, well, they were dead on arrival whenever they got there.
I'm not surprised. Honestly, I thought they were going to flounder. The other one that floundered and showed why NXT needs to tour is Adam Rose. That gimmick was a nightmare, but was freaking over with the Full Sail crowd. So.
Yeah, I was never a huge fan of Adam Rose. I was more of a fan of his older gimmick, Leo Kruger, myself.
Yeah.
But here's the thing on that issue. Do you remember that whole E60 behind the curtain special that ESPN did?
Yeah.
Did you watch that?
I did.
I loved it. His real name is Ray Lapon. Why not change his gimmick to just him wrestle as himself? That did more storytelling than what WWE/NXT did. So I was really impressed with what that happened. I'm like, just wrestle as Ray Lapon. Just wrestle as yourself. I love that aspect of it. So, but then again, what do I know? I'm not on a creative team, so, ugh.
Well, I guess it's kind of like the conundrum that WWE is in right now, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah. So, that's all I got for the Royal Rumble. I'm excited to see the Royal Rumble main event match. Hopefully, Shawn Michaels returns for just a cameo appearance, and maybe some other guys too. I would mark out so hard if they got Goldberg, but that will never happen. So, what do you got?
Well, that's really pretty much it. The whole thing is that wrestling's just been quiet because of the injuries. I mean, other than that, we had the acquired talent. NXT's going well, and hopefully the Dallas show will be awesome. That's what we're waiting for the build for. In terms of the main roster, I literally have barely been watching. I have not been watching Raw either. I have been occasionally watching SmackDown because Mauro Ranallo is now on there. He's got used to announce for New Japan on Access, and he's been fantastic. So that's a good thing. Not everything is horrible in WWE, just almost everything.
Yeah, but a good 85-90%.
Pretty much.
So, I need to start watching SmackDown again since they got Ronaldo in there. What's his name again? I know Ronaldo.
Yeah.
Okay. I need to watch him. I'm surprised that they haven't neutered him like Vince likes to do with his announcers. But if it is as good as you say, hopefully we could go back to the SmackDown days of yore, like back in 2002 with the SmackDown 6 and with Paul Heyman as the booker.
Yeah, that's
God, if we can get back to those days, that would be amazing. It'll never happen again, but man, those were some fun times.
We all wish. That was like my favorite. It's one of my favorite eras of wrestling.
Yeah.
Of all time. Whenever Paul Heyman has the booking and you have someone there to make sure that it doesn't fall apart financially, that's when wrestling is at like the peak.
Mm-hmm. Oh man! Now I need to go back on the network and see if they have those episodes. They probably don't because they're losers.
Yeah. You need to get
what
them
the
up
hell is
like
the hold up?
I know it's like it's the part that everyone wants to see.
Yeah, more Attitude Era / Ruthless Aggression. Those are like my two all-time favorite eras in all of WWE. Well, I digress.
So, anyways, I think that's about all we got for today. Thank you guys for joining us on the High Level Podcast. Hopefully, we will be more regular. We're hoping to have the next episode out in a week or two. We will get back to you guys very soon, after the Royal Rumble, most likely, and we will have more to
so we can complain more
going forward.
Yes.
So, thanks for listening, guys, and we'll see y'all soon.
See you later.